It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, General Ham and Honorable Jetty. I look a lot more relaxed than you. So I really want to thank AUSA for focusing on this topic in terms of contracting, because contracting is so incredibly important because it is inherently governmental. I've always said you could go out and hire technical folks to help you in the S&T arena. You could go outside and hire logistics support, but you can't go out, you can't farm out your contracting, okay? So this is an area, obviously, the Army has to pay an awful lot of attention to. What I would like to do this morning is just to highlight some of the challenges that I observed during my time in the Pentagon and talk a little bit about the consequences of the challenges. And in my mind, the desire for smart contracting reform means that these challenges has to get resolved, okay? But I know Honorable Jetty's on it. He'll fix all these things and lickety-split, okay? So number one is the inability to rapidly hire. 4 years ago, when I was looking at the under obligations by PEO, and I do that every other week to look at who's obligating contract and who's behind, right? I found out, for example, PEO Missile and Space was short of 42 contracting folks to support them, okay? And without the contracting staff, obviously you can't make an award, right? So we had $450 million sitting at risk. And guess what happens when you have $450 million sitting at risk? The big Army goes by, aha, let's see, May, June timeframe, you're probably not going to be able to spend this money. You start sweeping it up, right? Because if they don't sweep it up, OSD will, okay? So the Army will sweep up the money it's under obligated with a promise, quote unquote, to give it back to you in 2 years, right? And I know DASA P, my prior DASA P told me that never happens. Or if they do give it back to you in 2 years, a fraction of what they took, okay? So when that happens, it starts the slippery slope of broken programs, right? Industry side, you guys understand that, because all of a sudden you've got to re-baseline the program, and the schedule is going to slip out, okay? I know at that time we spent a year working with AMC Commander trying to get the staffing process resolved. Even then, a year later, we still didn't get 42 people. That was mind-boggling to me, coming from industry, because, you know, you yell as an HR person, and, you know, a month later, you have the staff you need, right? And then I'm upset because it took them a whole friggin' month. You guys laugh because, you know, it's like, I know Kevin Fahey used to tell me, if I can get the person in 8 months, I'm going to kiss the floor. It's just, the hiring process is onerous. So we've got to figure out how to work out a framework to enable much faster hiring, right? Otherwise, you just can't resolve the problem you have at hand. Okay, the second piece is what I observed was there's different contracting commands have different contracting processes, okay? And this creates a lot of challenges for organizations that go through different contracting commands to get the contracting done, right? Because the processes are different. So you really need to establish a best practice contracting process across the commands and make sure it's uniform so you know what to go to, regardless of which contracting command you go to execute your contracts, okay? I think third biggest thing that I saw was a lack of senior mentors to junior contracting folks, right? 50% of the contracting folks have less than 10 years experience. So by definition, the junior people are going to be inexperienced. They can't deal with complex contracts. It's going to take them longer, right? And so somewhere along the line, we also have a lot of great senior contracting folks retiring, right? We've got to figure out a way to hire some of them back to be senior mentors to the junior guys, right? Because I can tell you the junior folks are just crying for it. Like, help me. I need somebody to mentor me. Okay. Okay, fourth thing, contracting, the contract management process and the program management process. The databases don't talk to each other at all, okay? So there's an inability for the program manager to see where the contracting bottleneck is at and where their contract is in the queue, okay? I know some of the PEOs have established tracking mechanism to see how long it takes during each step of the contracting process to get to an award, okay? And in my mind, the contracting command should establish common metrics to evaluate each step of the contracting process and assess what are the reasons for these bottlenecks and how can we alleviate the bottlenecks, okay? And then measure yourself, how well are you doing against it, right? Organization on the outside always measure themselves to see where they can improve, right? And then you can provide access to the program manager. So the program manager, instead of calling you every single week, where am I, I'm bugging the hell out of you. And the contracting people get really annoyed at the PM, right? But it's just, if they have access to it, they know, right? Number 5. By the way, I have a long list. Sorry about that. Okay. There's multiple layers of sequential legal reviews that goes on, right? As a contracting command, they have legal review. AMC, there's legal review. And AUSA, there's legal review. Very, very risk-averse approach, which of course slows down contracting. So isn't there a way to streamline the sequential legal review into a single review, right? To speed things up, okay? And number 6, there's a continuous new regulations which flows down, you know, from the OSD layer that goes down to the Army, okay, which makes it very difficult for the contracting staff to absorb all the new rules and regulations and processes and implement them expeditiously, right? I would highly recommend USD A&S to create a cross-service team to focus on streamlining contracting regulations, okay? Number 7, okay, I call it too many cooks. That's because it's a very long, slow, iterative process in terms of getting the acquisition strategies, the pricing strategies, the contracting strategies through multiple stakeholders in the Army and then through OSD before the DAB, right? The Defense Acquisition Board. And with all the conflicting opinions that tells you, go this way, no, go that way, go this way. Very, very painful, and you're whiplash each way, each step of the process. And what I saw happen there, very unfortunately, is Army will finally get agreement upon the strategies, the contracting strategies, pricing strategy, acquisition strategy, go up to OSD at the DAB just to get everything turned upside down. I was just like, how could this be turned upside down this late stage, right? Why didn't we know about this a year ago when we're creating the strategy? Why did all these, bright ideas from OSD popped up at the last minute, right? Number 8, it's a very risk-averse culture that we have. There is absolutely no reward for going fast, but very heavy penalty for getting it wrong for the contracting folks. Because no contracting person wants to be in the Washington Post as a poster child of what went wrong, right? Next issue that I saw was there's a very rapid pace and increased demand for contracting staff. The contracting staff is very much overworked, feeling unloved, okay? And a lot of ones I talked to felt burnt out. Army, the risk to the Army is you will end up with high turnover rate, right? Well, they will just end up going to someplace else. And the senior folks, they were just, thank you very much, I've had enough, I'll take a retirement, I think the contracting folks at the lower level has to have a voice and feel that they are a critical part of the team in terms of resolving problems. One of the things that I did, which I felt very rewarding, is when I went to a base, I made sure to carve out an hour of my time to have a brown bag luncheon with the contracting folks at different levels. And you'll hear all types of issues and concerns that they have that gets brought up at that level. I will highly encourage, if you have time, to actually do that. Okay, so this is just a smattering of issues. How do we expedite acquisition? Well, I can tell you in my time there, the collaborative contracting with program management process at PEO STRI, which is simulation, training, instrumentation, was actually the best that I saw, okay? On a monthly basis, they conducted a joint meeting with industry, contracting with PM with industry, to let industry know what's coming down in terms of opportunity, and they take questions and answers. This type of collaborative behavior between contracting, program management, and industry is the best way to best path forward. It keeps industry aware of what is being planned and enables them to prioritize their investment and respond rapidly to opportunities that's upcoming, right? Bruce certainly talked a little bit about the trends the last couple of years to use OTA to expedite acquisition. OTA certainly provides greater flexibility in contracting. The concept of try it before you buy it sounds great for the Army. However, it is a strain for small businesses, okay? Because they have to internally fund the development of the prototypes themselves, and they don't have deep pockets, okay? Like the major primes. So if the desire is to continue to go down OTA, you may inadvertently drive out the small companies, which is where you want them to participate because they're a lot of the seed corns for innovation. The desire to go commercial and buy commercial items, great. However, be aware that in the commercial world, technology evolves very rapidly and parts becomes obsolete very rapidly. And the DoD has a tendency to maintain systems for a very long time. And guess what? Parts obsolescence becomes a big, big issue. Can't find the parts. We had this exact same problem on a DARPA program called Global Hawk, right? Iraq, Desert Storm broke out, so all of a sudden they want the Global Hawk to go fly in theater. Well, guess what? The whole concept there was build it fast, small, cheap, and the radar system was built based upon COTS components. Well, 5 years is an awful long time for COTS components. And once you're flying a prototype out there in Desert Storms, they want a spare part, you couldn't find them. You had to go on eBay to literally find spare parts. Okay. The government has a desire to want to own everything. Bruce talked about it, IP. Okay. Instead of going down that path and pay enormous sum of money for IP and TDPs, technical data packages, right? The government should just standardize the common interface and allow contractors to innovate, then plug into the common interface. Why do you care if this little piece, let them to innovate, right? So that's one path in which industry can maintain their intellectual property, but they can plug into whatever system that you want, and you can compete based on the best product. So in summary, as a nation, we have the innovation and the know-how on how to do things fast. But the challenge for the service is going to be make a decision rapidly on what is it that you want, then stick with it long enough to allow industry to innovate and deliver. I can tell you a lot of the industry folks don't like dealing with the Army because they feel burned by the Army for wasting their money chasing the ever-changing requirement, right? Army likes folks to spend their own money, bring the products, and then they change their mind what they want. There's a very low return on your investment going after the Army stuff. And I heard that. Third, if you want to do things fast, you empower the program manager to move fast. Give the PM the responsibility, but the authority to move fast, right? Fourth, don't cut the budget that's being planned for the development program, or else accept the fact that the program is going to face increased risk and the program is going to stretch out. You can't beat up on the program managers, then you cut his budget. Then you say, well, why is the program stretching out? Well, duh, right? And finally, you need to hold each stakeholder accountable, that their job is to remove the roadblock and help the program manager deliver the capability to a warfighter as quickly as possible. Acquisition is a team sport. We should never forget that. Every single stakeholder must accept their responsibility and realize we're all in the same boat. We all must work collaboratively together towards the same common goal and not play the blame game, right? All too often I see the blame game being played as opposed to work collaboratively together. You're a team sport. You can't just expect the quarterback to play all the games. The defense isn't there or the offense isn't there, right? So hopefully I shared some of the pains and challenges, and maybe it's all solved by now. I see some laughter in the back there. I guess there's some work left. All right. Okay. Let's see. The first question is, how will the consolidation of prime contractor impact the ability of the Army to facilitate competition and control prices for services? That's certainly a big issue. With more consolidation, you have less player, and this has already happened the last 20 years. This is not new, right? The primes are already consolidated significantly, so you do have less competition. I will say one more thing. A lot of times, the primes also feel the RDECs are competing with them, okay? Because research and development facilities, they get funding from the Army. They go to local contractor, build their PET systems, and you open up a competition, right? But guess what? Their PET project is now favored, right? This is not quite the way it was intended. Okay, so you're right. There's going to be a lot less competition with consolidation. That's not something that's going to be easily fixed, right? Next one. What are your thoughts on ways and means to improve capabilities of contracting officers represented, CORs? Well, I would say the COR a lot of times are sort of left hanging by themselves, right? They've got the responsibility to figure out how things are working and provide information back. I can tell you the training is going to be extraordinarily important with the contracting folks, and they have to work very closely with program management. So one of the issues that I see is this. I call it this great wall of divide between program managers and contracting. I can tell you in industry, we work collaboratively together between contracting and program management. You have to, okay? It's a critical part of your team. Literally, contracting person is in all the meetings. Finance person is in all the meetings. The manufacturing person, along with the design, they're all part of this team. So they understand what the goal is, and they work collaboratively together. They don't just throw the contracting over the wall and hopefully it gets executed, okay? It doesn't work well. But the reporting structure as it currently set up, contracting folks reports to AMC, homeroom, right? However, the senior procurement executive is ASALT, okay? So when something blows up, the Hill calls ASALT, okay? There has to be a lot more collaboration across the board to resolve some of these issues, okay? And I think a COR, I will highly recommend a lot closer collaboration between the program managers with the COR. You absolutely need that. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of share some of the pains that I observed. And you guys have the bright ideas to help solve it. I'm sure Bruce is all yours. You heard about it. I do want to say I really commend him for opening up the industry. When I was in his shoes, during my 5 years, 2 months, 20 days, I met with 845 industry engagements. Okay, that's a lot of industry engagement. Why? Because it is absolutely critical that you hear from everybody. Okay, so I highly recommend all the folks to take the opportunity and knock on Bruce's door. His wife may not see him too often, but I think it's important that you guys get to him. Okay, thank you very much.